All their feedback was just always just whatever you can possibly do, just do it all. If anything, I think it's been my character and what I've been able to show. If I didn't network, like I wouldn't be sitting in this Dandenong Stingrays polo. Being on the MCG when the fireworks lit up, like it was beautiful. I was just standing there and I was just like, holy moly, like how am I here?
G'day guys, coming up on the show today is Billie Lewis, the strength and conditioning lead at the Dandenong Stingrays. Billie's role involves managing the physical development of young athletes to ensure they're ready to excel on game days. With a knack for building rapport and meticulous attention to detail, Billie has earned her place as a trusted leader at the Stingrays. Before this, Billie worked at St Kilda Football Club in membership and later transitioned into coaching through persistence and strategic networking. Her journey from a sport management diploma to an exercise science degree and now working with elite athletes is filled with a lot of valuable lessons for aspiring sports professionals who are unsure which direction to take. If you're curious about breaking into high performance roles or want to learn how to navigate the world of sports whilst building confidence, this story is one you're going to want to explore. Let's go.
I started volunteering.
It's all about who you know in sport.
Am I going to be calling the last 10 seconds of the grand final?
You can connect with the interviewer. The hand goes up when they've got to make a decision.
Having a network is one of the most important things you can do.
I didn't necessarily follow my passion. I followed my curiosity.
Once you've worked in sport, there's no going back.
And then lo and behold, before I left, I got offered two.
Hello and welcome to the SportsGrad podcast, the ultimate guide to make it in the sports industry. Brought to you by Deakin University, home to the world's #1 sports science school. My name is Ruben Williams. I'm an ex-Cricket Australia employee who started SportsGrad to help others get their dream job, and now it's become my own dream job. I absolutely love helping people with their careers and being able to see the journey that take, and that absolutely includes Billie. Being able to know her and learn about her career for the last year or so has been awesome to follow. If we're not already, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn or Instagram. You can find me there. And if you've got any questions about careers in sport, feel free to flick me a message. Now, if this is your first time listening to the show, every week on the SportsGrad podcast, we learn about what people do in their job in sport, how they got to their job, what were some of the key steps to making it where they are today, so that if you are trying to find out how to get in or where you belong, what job suits you best, then this resource is a perfect place to get started. Now, if you're not already, I would highly encourage you to make sure you grab a meetup ticket. Now, if you've been following us on socials, you would have seen last week we had the Sydney meetup, we had the Brisbane meetup, which went off, and coming up this week is the Melbourne meetup. So if you are in Melbourne, if you're yet to grab a ticket, make sure you hop on that. The Melbourne one is always a great event, and we've got some exceptional guests coming in. Speaking of Hayley Conway, who's a marketing consultant who I met over in Paris where she was working on the Olympic Games. She's also worked on the Formula One circuit and also with the AFLW more recently. And on top of that, we have got a very special guest in Joel Morrison, who's an executive from Cricket Australia. Well, I was thinking back the other day, I don't actually think we've had an executive on at a meetup before. So this might be a first for SportsGrad meetup history. So make sure you get along to meet him. He's a terrific guy. He's going to have some excellent experience. Used to be the CEO of Cricket Northern Territory as well. So just an awesome, awesome guy that you ought to meet. And if you want to get a ticket to that, make sure you head to sportsgrad.com.au/events. Now, every week we give a shout out to members of the SportsGrad community. And if you're not already a member, I'd highly recommend jumping on it. It's a really easy way just to shortcut the process to break into sport. So this week we've got 3 people. First shout out goes to Cam Topfer, who has just landed a job as a legal counsel at Tennis Australia. He's got a big summer coming up. Going to be joining our good friend Louis Asser over in the marketing partnerships team. Next up, we have Lawrence Warledge, who has just got a volunteer role with Hockey Queensland, and Fu Chang has just got a volunteer role with the Melbourne Aces as well. So well done to you boys. As always, there are plenty of events coming up. Next week, we've got the General Manager of Football of Western United Football Club coming in to chat with the community and teach us about high performance in the A-League space. And then plenty of Cricket Australia events, Cricket Australia guests coming up over the summer too, with a lot more in store for 2025. So if you want to stay up to date with all the events that are going on to grow your network or the jobs that are coming through SportsGrad to break in, make sure you head to sportsgrad.com.au/newsletter and you can stay up to date with everything. Every single Monday morning, I send out a newsletter called Shortcuts by SportsGrad, and it's just a really easy way to get the information and the opportunities you need in your inbox. So jump on that. Now, let's dive into this episode. Enjoy this chat with Billie Lewis. Have you got your eye on a future in sport? If you're ready to transform the industry, then perhaps get ready to study with Deakin and prepare yourself to redefine what it means to work in sport. That's what I did at least. Deakin's School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences is ranked #1 in the world. Pretty cool, hey? So if you want to turn your passion for sport into an impactful career, get ready to push the limits of exercise science, sport coaching, sport development, sport management, nutrition sciences, physical education, and more. You can do it all at Deakin. Apply now and study at Deakin University. Billie, welcome to SportsGrad.
Thanks, Rubes. Appreciate it. How you going?
Very good, very good. You've been a member for quite a while now. Do you remember when you joined SportsGrad for the first time?
Yes, I was in Bali with the family, and I was middle of the uni degree, figuring out how can I one step ahead my cohort, and I thought, stuff it, SportsGrad, here it is. I think it was before you were going to bump up the price as well, potentially. So I was just like, it's now or never. Here we go. Let's go. And I invested the annual, and incredible, unreal, love it.
Yeah, the price raise usually gets people on board. But I'm glad that you can remember when. I'm glad you can recall exactly where you were when you joined as well. I wasn't expecting that, but
Yeah.
must have been quite a vivid experience for you.
Yeah, and then we had one of our like interview meetup, speed networking, sorry. And I remember I was sitting in Bali and I did that position, and I was like, what a time to be alive. Here we are.
We're on. And now you are the center of attention, which is awesome. Actually, not for the first time. You are a guest at our International Women's Day event at the start of the year too.
Yeah, that was so cool. That was awesome being on the panel with some incredible females for sure.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, you know how this works. We start every session with a few quick fire questions. So first one for you, what inspired you to pursue the sports industry?
I just love playing sport, watching sport, being a part of it. Used to swim and dance, and then when footy became a thing for females, I jumped straight on that. So if anything, it's my passion for the sport, playing, the good feelings you get out of playing sport. Love it.
And what was your first ever sports related job?
That would have been when I was studying at the Richmond Institute of Sports Leadership. It wasn't a paid job, but as part of that, we had like hours we had to complete. And I remember I was a fan engagement officer, and part of that role, we had to chaperone the mascots for Richmond. And like I vividly remember, it was the first time I was doing it, and it was dream time at the G, where Shea Bolton did like the big war cry thing. It's pouring rain, and mascots can't get wet. So instead of going the normal route out of the out of the rooms, which is up the umpires race at the MCG and like around the boundary, we had to leg it across the MCG. The mascots can't see out of their suits, so I'm holding the mascot's hand, running across the G. It's pouring rain, but we made it. It was fun, and so yeah, that was my first, I guess, sport job as such, but wasn't paid. But yeah, incredible.
And you mentioned the Richmond Institute. What study have you done since leaving high school?
So yeah, finished school, ATAR, flunked that, was going to go criminology, taken a clear 180. So did the Richmond Institute of Sports Leadership course. So that was a year-long course, and you end up with a dual diploma. So a diploma of sports development, and then a diploma of leadership and management. That was with Swinburne. It's like co-affiliated with Richmond and Swinburne Uni. And then through that year, figured that exercise sports science was something that I wanted to do. So jumped on the Deakin exercise sports science. I've majored in strength and conditioning and exercise physiology, and finished that this year.
And in any of the jobs that you have done in your career so far, can you recall an interview question that you got asked?
Yes. So when I went for the job at Saints in membership, they did one of those STAR questions, those situation, task, action, result. And like, it was about because I was interviewing to be what they call a consumer sales representative, which is membership on the phones and emails, I should say. And it was like, what was a time where you had like a tough client or patient or something to work with, and how'd you overcome it? And I like, because I didn't have, this was like going to be my first paid job in sport, so I didn't have like a sport example to give. And we just come out of the pandemic, and I was working at Woolies at the time, and Woolies through the pandemic. And I literally just brought up like when we had remember how we had the curfew? Or I don't know, in Melbourne when we had the curfew.
Yep.
And we'd have to like close the door of Woolies at like 8 p.m. And that was my job. And like old mate wanted to come in to get his bread and milk for the family. And I like that was my response, because I didn't have like a sport example to give. And it's more a behavioral question than like wanting to know a sports answer. So that was my answer.
COVID was weird times, but I'm glad you got a good interview answer out of it.
Yeah. Anyways, we move on.
And do you have a book or podcast recommendation that has helped you in your job?
I just love I love reading like female autobiographies. I can't pronounce her name properly, but Emily Ratajkowski, the model chick, Emily
Ratajkowski?
Yes, there we go.
Or just Emrata.
Emrata, love her book. It's called My Body. I've read it quite a few times. I just love it because it's like her story. She had like a rough trot, which like you wouldn't know, like now look where she is. But in a sporting space, Ash Barty, love her book. Taylor Harris did like a bit of a kind of it was just a kick or something off the back of that photo of her kicking. So yeah, probably those books.
And if you could swap roles with anybody in the sports industry for a day, whose job would you try and why?
I've got two because I simply can't pick. First would be Ariane Titmus. She's a freak. Love her. I love working hard for something. So like it's a no-brainer, Ariane Titmus. And like just following her this week, she's been at Melbourne Cup Carnival. She's been at like every event. She got to do the champagne at the Mum. So yep, at the Birdcage. Ariane Titmus, or probably Nicole Livingston, which again, she's like a ex-swimmer as well. But just the way she's moved from swimming into AFL. I think she stepped out of the AFL role potentially. I could be wrong.
She was head of AFLW for a bit, but then I believe she's moved on.
With the VIS or something. So either of those two, just I love to work hard for something and have a challenge and a target to get towards. So a gold medal at the Olympics for Arnie. And then Nicole, well, again, Olympian, but then also into the women's sporting space. So yeah.
And then all the fun events and accolades come with it. You get invited to the Birdcage and tickets to hospitality, all those sort of things come with it.
100%. Exactly right. Definitely.
That's it. Wonderful. Well, let's dive into your career. So to walk us through the steps between like where you were sort of post high school, trying to figure out where do I want my career to go, to landing in the position you are in now.
Yeah. So finished school. Again, like I've always loved sport, played footy when girls started. So for me, that was like 2015. So I've always loved sport and fallen back onto sport. Like I said, flunked the ATAR. And again, I was going down the criminology route. So went through the emails that, your careers counsellor had sent you at school and that kind of thing. And the Risel diploma was in my emails, and I was like, well, like it's a no-brainer. I love my footy.
Risel being the Richmond Institute of Sport Leadership.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that was in the emails. So applied for that, which you don't need an ATAR for, and I'm pretty sure you still don't need an ATAR for, but rather just like an application process. So yeah, one thing to another, got accepted into that. So being around a footy club was like, should I say so? I go for St Kilda, everyone. So Saints don't have much success. So being around a successful football club in Richmond was unreal. I think it was like our second day, and like the fact that this happened still mind boggles me. But we were getting like a lecture on like the do's and don'ts of the degree. And like, obviously we're in a professional space, like you might see something, like if the media was to come up to you, don't. Anyways, Dusty walked up in a towel, and like he had the Speedos, his budgie smugglers underneath, because he was looking for his photographer for his retail photo shoot. And he walked into the he walked into the lecture, or the room we were in. It's called the Morris Rioli room at Richmond, of 100 like fresh students, thinking his photo shoot was in there. Anyways, that sidetrack. So yeah, that was crazy that happened on day 2. So
you had Dustin Martin walk in a towel on your second day of school.
yeah, great, awesome. So you can imagine everyone, especially the females in the room. Anyways, so Rizel. So yeah, as part of that course, so I think I was like the 3rd cohort to go through it. And a lot of like our mentors or like student success people there were like previous students. So I was just always like chatting to them. What can I do? What can I do? And all their feedback was just always just Richmond was so good. Like they set up places for us to do our placement hours at. And they were always just like, just whatever you can possibly do, just do it all, do the lot. So I kind of just took that in my stride, and yeah, tried to do as many placements. So you only need 140 hours. And I think I only did about like 140, but just tried to just get like as many fingers in pies as I possibly could. So like you could do placement with an AFL manager. You could do placement in Richmond membership. You could do it in like the corporate events on Richmond game days. I got the fan engagement one. So there's heaps of things there. So I just remember from the Richmond course, just like talk to people, do whatever you can. Like if you've got the time, do it. So yeah, I just threw myself into whatever I possibly could. And then knowing that like my ATAR would be a barrier, I sort of spoke to the people at Richmond about how can I do exercise sports science, and they sort of like put me or wanted me to do Swinburne because that's like their co-affiliation. But being in Southeast Melbourne and going to Hawthorn, like it wasn't reasonable for me. So got them to help me write, like I think it's a mature age thing to deacon for exercise sports science, and then got a couple of credit points for units just for what I'd done in the study at Richmond. And then, yeah, went and it was a 3-year course, but I dragged it out to about 4.5 years at Deakin. So exercise sports science degree.
Nice. And when you were trying to figure out like which direction you wanted to go within sports science, because sports science is, one of a dozen things. You mentioned earlier that you ended up majoring in strength and conditioning.
Yep.
How did you decide on that path to take as opposed to, say, analytics or exercise physiology or the range of other things you could do?
Yeah, that's right. Like it is nuts. Like you can do nutrition, analytics, applied sports science. Like there's heaps. I think for me, like why I chose S&C, strength and conditioning, and exercise physiology, like it's a pair at Deakin, EP, probably from my own personal experiences through footy, injuring myself and just wanting to be the person that like I didn't have in that time. So I playing footy, local footy, in 2019, tore my labrum in my hip. And like I finished the season, probably shouldn't have, but I wanted to because we made finals. And then it was kind of like, okay, like how do I fix this now? And then it got to the point where we were in March 2020 and elective surgeries, I needed surgery, and elective surgeries were getting shut down because COVID, our friend. So I went through like the pandemic, needing surgery, didn't have it. So yeah, if anything, I think it's my own personal experiences that sparked that in me. And then on top of that, like just what we did at Richmond Institute, each day we were in there, we did, it's compulsory. Like each day we were there, we did 90 minutes of some sort of activity or gym or something. So we had the opportunity through that course to get our ASCA level 1. So that's the Australian Strength and Conditioning Association level 1, which Richmond subsidised through our studies. So I think, a combination of my own experience plus what I'd done at Richmond. And then also as well, just wanting to finish my degree and it sounds cliche, but finish my degree and not on the certificate just say Bachelor of Exercise Sports Science. Like, I wanted to finish my degree, the Bachelor of Exercise Sports Science that majored in XYZ. Because otherwise, like along the way, I would have still had to pick 8 different elective units. So rather than picking 8 units to go towards nothing, have a course map that's already filled out for me with those majors.
Yep. I love the origin story of why you wanted to go into EP and how it's had, like, you've got your own personal history with injuries and want to have that impact on for other people and be there to help other people with their injuries too. That sounds very important and ties back nicely to something that came up in our session last week. So for those who missed it, last week we had Alison Robinson, the Executive General Manager of People and Culture at Cricket Australia, drop in. And she said that when she is hiring people, she looks for 3 things. Number 1 is, can you do the job? Number 2 is, will you do the job? And number 3 is, are you a good fit for the team? And the point around will you do the job is super, super important, because you can have an extremely smart person, but they might just not be motivated to do the job that is, required by the organization. And so one way that you can like test if this person is actually motivated to do this particular job is actually ask them, well, why do you want it? Which is why do you want to work in sport becomes such an important question. So I'm interested, like, knowing that you've kind of got this origin story articulated already, like, has it come up in conversation or in any of the interviews that you've had at following jobs, and what has the response been to it?
I have been very lucky in like my road and sort of how I've got from this consumer sales rep at Saints to the strength and conditioning lead at Stingrays. I haven't had an interview since then for any of the positions I've had. If anything, I think it's been like my character and what I've been able to show that's like had someone see, and then people talk, and then so I haven't had like physically, I haven't sat in a room and it's been like, this is the question. But I do find myself falling back on my own story, talking to the Stingrays girls. When like, last year when one of the girls tore her ACL, like obviously I haven't torn my ACL, but I've had a significant injury in that way that I just talked them through the process and just why like I will care for them so much and want them to get back to where they were, like, playing on the field 2 minutes ago. So yeah, in physical sense, no, it hasn't come up, but that's not to say it won't. Like, I've only just started my journey, or like my strength and conditioning journey past uni. So hopefully it's a good way for me to help with that will you be able to do the job part of those questions.
Well, let's dive into networking, because it sounds like that's been a pretty important part of your journey. You said you haven't had an interview so far. What sort of role has networking played in your progress?
Well, yeah, if I didn't network, like I wouldn't be sitting in this Dandenong Stingrays polo. So, it all does stem back to like Rysel and what I did at Richmond Institute. We had, the ability to network and talk to people all the time. And again, like that was how the previous students like landed their job in the Richmond Institute course. So if anything, I was just trying to mirror them or mimic what they did. In saying that, no, it didn't get me the job at Saints. I went out on a limb and applied for that. I applied for it in October of 22. Didn't get the job. But again, another thing that Richmond Institute taught me was to always ask for feedback on why I didn't get the job. So asked for feedback. 2 weeks later, still hadn't got a response. So like I pestered again, asked again, got a response, and the response was, "Hey Billie, like you were second. Just needed more experience." And I was like, awesome, great, love it. So just like took that in my stride. Didn't actually change anything I was doing. Got a phone call February 23. "Hey Billie, we're hiring again. If you want to apply." So I was like, okay, well, they've called me to say apply. Like I'm probably pretty likely to get the job. I'd be pretty stiff if I wasn't. So then when I got into Saints, well, one, I'm a Saints nuffy, so I loved every bit of being in that building, but I knew that I wouldn't progress if I just sat on my computer answering phone calls. So I did my job and sat on my computer, answered the phone calls, wrote the emails. But then when we had lulls in phone calls or work was a bit dry, like I'd find myself walking across to the community department, which is what the Saints Academy is, which is who I work for currently. And then found myself, not that we were meant to, but found myself down in the footy department, chatting to coaches and things like that. Saints is very like open door policy. So Tom, when you were mentioning before, like talking to a few of the player development people, I was going to say Saints because like Brownie's a legend. So I'm glad you got onto Brownie because I would chat to him all the time. And then, yeah, so started with Saints Academy through talking. That was a volunteer position, and then was doing my thing with Saints Academy and met the Stingrays girls coach. Again, like a handshake. Hello, Billie. Hi, I'm Josh. And then, yeah, here we are. So networking. If I didn't do it, I wouldn't have my job right now. Yeah.
Amazing. As a common story in sport, I'm glad it's looked after you well too.
Yes, absolutely.
Talk to us a bit about the day-to-day of your job at the moment. What does like a day in the life of Billie currently look like?
Yeah, awesome. So I guess for me and the work I'm doing with Stingrays, like I'm not working 9 to 5. In saying that, I'm not working 6 to 9 either, but I'm working like afternoons. So I've just also landed myself a strength and conditioning role with the company that are the physios for Stingrays. So again, landed that role through working at Stingrays in conversation. But if I was to talk about a Stingrays day to day, look, like I do take phone calls and emails throughout the day sporadically. And then training nights or training days, prep for the night ahead. So it'll either be a conditioning night or a speed night or a strength night, depending on what boxes I'm ticking, how we're going. So yeah, first things first, chat with the coach, what his plan is. And then obviously like we don't often do it, but like if we've had a flogging on the weekend or something like that and the girls need a rest, like I'll cut the load right down and make the call on that. We chat about injured players on a Tuesday. That's our Tuesday thing. We jump on Zoom for an hour and just go through our injury list. Hopefully it's not long. And then get to training. And again, like it's networking, but it's not networking, like it's conversation. So my job isn't my job, and I don't build the rapport with the players or the girls as such that I have if I don't talk to them. So they're kids, like they're 16 to 18-year-old girls. So they still go to school. They still, muck around at school. They still do school sport. They're probably all the girls, and they are because I'm coming across it. They're the best cross-country runner at school. They're the best basketball player at school. They're the best netballer at school. So can guarantee they were mucking around in double PE for 2 hours, running around on their legs. And they come to training and they're like, Billie, I'm cooked. And I'm like, what have you done today? And they're like, this. So talking like is a massive part of my role and what I do. And then training starts and like we're into it. So I run the warm up for the girls, and then we'll either jump in and help coach or be a player in a drill if we need extra numbers. Or we'll have strength rotation. Pre-season, the girls are going to love me. We're going to have conditioning rotations. Or bits of conditioning. And then a training night will end. There's GPSs as well that I use. So we have GPSs on the players from a loading point of view, just to make sure that we're not doing too much or we're doing enough to help prepare us for game day. So then post-training, get them all back from the girls, follow up with anyone I need to follow up with, or follow up with anyone who came off the track in the night. So I have to, obviously I'm not the person that's diagnosing or treating any of the injuries, but I need to know who's come off the track or who's feeling this, that away, so that we can either rest for the Thursday night ahead of the game on the weekend or, play or whatever. Yeah.
Sounds like you got a full roster every single week. And for those who are like thinking about careers in high performance, like the more I dive into the high performance space, the more it does sound like a lot of these roles, whether it's strength and conditioning or nutrition, like a lot of people are kind of doing it in a couple of different places part-time to kind of fill up an entire week. And so, you might have some gray area where it's like you're overlapping between two jobs on any given day. But you touched on an interesting point, and that is your ability to build rapport with the athletes, which essentially allows you to communicate your expertise and have the impact that you have. So all the study that you've done becomes effective if you can communicate it to them. I'm interested to understand your methods for building rapport with athletes, because I often find that like the ones who build the best rapport are often the best coaches, even if they haven't done, the highest degree or had the most years of experience, but it's getting that cut through with the athlete. And way back in the day, I did an interview with Jenny Screen, who is a former Opal, won a silver medalist, and she is a strength and conditioning coach and exercise physiologist. She's now working with the Hawthorn Football Club. She's worked in many high performance spaces before, but the thing that she was amazing at was building rapport with athletes. And I remember, like, because I was doing a little program with her at one point in time, and she said to me, Ruben, one thing I always try and pick up on is what shoes are people wearing? And I'll try and create some sort of like association between that person's name and their shoes, and I'll use that to remember their name and an interesting fact about them, so that the next time I see them, I can say their name, say the thing that I remember about them, make them feel like I know who they are and are interested in them. So I'm wondering, in your time in this space, have you come up with any little quirks on how to build rapport with athletes?
Not as deep as Jenny is. I've actually heard her speak as well, and she's unreal. Love Jenny. But I think for me, and like it is tricky, and I have to like constantly go back to the coaches as well. Like obviously the athletes that I'm working with right now are children, so I have to. It's a fine line. But with the girls I'm with, anyways, like yeah, I try and be as close to a friend as I can possibly without being a friend, because at the end of the day, I still need to have some sort of authority, that when we need to have authority, that it's there. So I think if anything, just, yeah, listening to the girls, having conversations with them. I think it helps that I have played footy, probably not at the level of them. But I guess it helps that I've played footy. It helps that I've had injuries. I'm youngish like the girls as well. So around their age, someone they could as such look up to, not in an athletic space, but obviously in like a professional space. So yeah, like I definitely stamp authority when it's needed. And I kind of almost like, I kind of preface it to the girls and like, right, tune in here. If you're only going to listen to one thing, listen to this tonight, or give me your full undivided here. But like, I don't know, like looking ahead to this preseason. So we're going to start with 75 girls out on the track. So I'm not going to know every single one of them. And I won't ever learn all of them. But yeah, it's induction day this Sunday. So I'm going to put up I've got a Google form that I'm putting up to the girls, just for them to let me know like what they're doing, X, Y, Z. But then at the bottom, it's cheesy, but at the bottom I've put like the most important question. If you could add a song to a playlist for preseason, what would it be? Give it to me. Just so I've got music they want to listen to, which I'll play when we're in the gym, which I'll play when like we can have those listening to music moments. So nothing as deep as Jenny's looking at the shoes and picking that up. Mind you, though, we kind of do like what the AFL players do, Silly Sunday, Mad Monday kind of thing. So our last Stingrays training session this year, we did dress ups. One of the girls dressed up as me, so that was cute. She, in case you haven't looked at the color of my hair, she went to the op shop and found the most hideous orange wig she could find. So she's in for it this preseason, put it that way. But no, I loved it. Like the three of them dressed up as head coach, myself, and the wellbeing lady. So yeah, we found that good, and I guess it means that I have built that rapport if she's brave enough to dress up as me for our last training session, Mad Monday sesh.
Don't they say flattery is imitation is the ultimate form of flattery?
That's not bad.
Yeah. Nice. Well, good luck to her when you have to, you get to call the shots and how many laps they get to run.
Yeah, time trial. Here you go.
Wonderful. I've got a couple more questions for you, and then we'll throw it open to everyone else. Have you had any pinch me moments, any times working in sport where you thought, how good is this? I'm so glad that I went down the path that I have pursued.
Yeah, 100%. So Saints, working at Saints in the membership team. Last year it was St Kilda's, was it last year the year before? Oh no, last year, sorry. Last year it was St Kilda's 150th year as a club. And again, through talking at St Kilda, there was in the previous season, this was when Ross the Boss came back, there was a lot of movement in the coaching space of the football department and all that kind of thing. So a lot of roles kind of got backfilled, or people who were already in the office helped and stepped in to backfill a role. So one of the ladies that worked in the sponsorship department, she became the team's team manager. So then I got offered the job of her sponsorship role, which again, like little Saints Nuffy and me, like was screaming. So basically on game days, I would put the signage up in the rooms, make sure like all the sponsors were on display properly. Then when game time came, I would look after the junior mascot, the kid that would run out with the players. So yeah, favorite, like I love Jack Steele. I love all the boys. So, when the kid was like, I want to run out with Jack Steele, and I'd have to hand them to Jack Steele as they're running out. Like I was like, oh, come too. Like, let me run as well. Not allowed. And then, I guess quarter time, half time, 3/4 time, any activations that had to be done, I'd do that. And then if we got the win, give the players the footies that they'd sign. So that was my first pinch me moment. But then when it was the Saints 150th game, was at the MCG. We had a bit of like a musical situation pre-game, and I think there was like a singer in the fans in the crowd, behind the goals. And then like all these fireworks happened before the game and everything. I was just standing there and I was just like, holy moly, like how am I here on the MCG? Like obviously I'd been on the MCG with Richmond and what I'd done there, and again, like that was a pinch me moment as well. But for my club that I grew up loving and supporting, and heartbreak and all that stuff of 2019 and then 2010, being on the MCG when the fireworks lit up, like it was beautiful. Like it was just I was chills. Yes.
There's not many things that compare to being on the turf of the MCG. So I'm very happy to hear that you got to experience that. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, what do you think you would be doing if you hadn't pursued a career in sport? What path do you reckon you would have gone down?
I still think like this could potentially happen, but I've always maybe dreamt of police force or army, or like a federal police officer or something like that. So potentially down that route. Wouldn't have a clue. Obviously, like a police officer, like I would know where to start. But I don't think I'd want to be like, this is horrible. I don't want to be like a Joe Blow police officer. I'd love to be like an AFP, like federal police officer on those big raids and stuff. So maybe down the police space. I know the army need like strength and conditioning coaches, so maybe I could like combine the two and be an S&C in the army or something. But
You'll have to talk to Kerry Gassner, who is the former detective who now is the venue manager of John Cain Arena. He was on the podcast episode 208 for those who want to scroll back. But he made the career change going the opposite way. He came from the police into the sports industry, but had about 15 years of policing before he made it in. Actually, even before he joined the police force, he was a truck driver. So for anyone who needs advice on making a career change, Kerry is the perfect person to go to. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the sound of Billie's job. If you'd like to learn more about people in these jobs in sport, then become a SportsGrad member and you can get access to the SportsGrad library. It's only $29 to get started, and it's kind of like Netflix for jobs in sport. Once you're in, you can access full interviews with people about just about every single job in sport, which is a much, much quicker way than going out and trying to meet all these people and ask them individually about what they do and how they got to where they are. So if you want more content like this, more in-depth interviews, and get the chance to chat to these people and ask questions yourself, make sure you become a SportsGrad member. Hey, last thing before you go. Everyone knows the sports industry is super competitive, so you might want to keep this to yourself. But every Monday, I send out an email called Shortcuts by SportsGrad. It takes 5 minutes to read, and it gives you everything you need to get an edge over other job hunters on a silver platter. Here you'll find exclusive job opportunities, networking events, and premium resources to get ahead. Again, it takes less than 5 minutes to read, and it's designed to help you get ahead and stay ahead. So if you want to receive the next one in your inbox, head to sportsgrad.com.au/newsletter. But as I mentioned, competition for jobs in sport is red hot, so perhaps keep this to yourself.